Imagine standing in your kitchen, the lights flickering, the stove cold, and the realization dawning that your emergency food stash isn't as prepared as you thought. Most households stockpile heat-dependent foods, like pasta or rice, which become useless without electricity or gas. But what if you could eat and gain energy without needing to cook? This is where no-cook foods come into play. They are not just about convenience. They are about survival. Take tortillas, for instance. These flatbreads, often overlooked in emergency planning, offer a unique advantage. Unlike bread, which spoils quickly and crumbles easily, tortillas can be stored for longer periods and are less likely to break. They also serve as a versatile delivery system for other foods, turning simple ingredients into complete meals without the need for utensils or plates. This functionality is crucial in a crisis when you might be on the move or managing others. So why not include tortillas in your emergency kit? They are inexpensive, widely available, and can be rotated through normal cooking every couple of months to ensure freshness. The next time you're at the grocery store, consider adding a pack of tortillas to your cart. They might just be the difference between a meal and a missed opportunity for nutrition. Now, let's dive into another no-cook food that stands out for its unique properties: instant oats. Instant oats might seem like a mundane breakfast option, but they offer a surprising advantage in emergency situations. Unlike traditional oats, which require heat to cook, instant oats can be prepared with cold water through a process called cold soaking. This method is favored by long-distance hikers and endurance athletes who cannot carry a stove. The key to instant oats lies in their ability to provide steady energy. While most emergency foods offer protein or fat, oats deliver complex carbohydrates and dietary fiber, which metabolize slowly and release energy gradually over several hours. This slow-burn fuel is crucial during a crisis when quick energy spikes followed by crashes can be detrimental. Research on glycemic response shows that high-fiber grains maintain stable blood glucose levels for longer periods compared to refined alternatives. A portion of cold-soaked oats can keep blood glucose stable for 3 to 4 hours, making them an invaluable asset in a crisis. To maximize their utility, store instant oats alongside clean water, as cold soaking requires it. Without water, this food option becomes less viable. Now let's explore another essential no-cook food that addresses a different physiological need: canned fruit. Canned fruit might seem like a simple addition to your emergency food supply, but it plays a critical role in maintaining mental and physical health during a crisis. As days turn into weeks without access to fresh produce, the body begins to crave variety, not just in taste, but in texture and moisture. This physiological need for diversity is often overlooked in emergency planning. Canned fruit not only provides a sweet taste, but also acts as a hydration source through its juice or syrup. This secondary hydration is crucial when water is rationed. Moreover, the natural sugars in canned fruit enter the bloodstream quickly, providing a fast boost of energy. This rapid response can be life-saving when someone needs to function within the next 20 minutes. Additionally, canned fruit retains a significant portion of its vitamin C content, which supports immune function under stress. The psychological impact of sweetness should not be underestimated. It can provide a brief sense of normalcy in an otherwise chaotic situation. So while canned fruit may seem like a minor addition, it offers a multifaceted benefit that cannot be ignored. Now let's move on to another no-cook food that addresses a different critical need: protein bars. Protein bars are often seen as a convenient snack for athletes, but their role in emergency preparedness goes beyond mere convenience. When blood glucose levels drop below a functional threshold, cognitive performance suffers. Studies on people in high-stress environments show that impaired judgment is often the most dangerous outcome of a crisis. Protein bars can help bridge this gap by providing a quick boost of energy. Each bar typically delivers 180 to 220 calories and 8 to 12 grams of protein, enough to restore blood glucose levels above the threshold where decision-making starts to break down. This short-term energy boost can be crucial in a crisis. However, it's important to note that protein bars should be part of a balanced emergency food supply, not the sole source of nutrition. They are best used as a bridge, not a foundation. Their individually wrapped, compact, and durable nature makes them ideal for vehicle emergency kits, where temperature variations can affect food quality. By incorporating protein bars into your emergency kit, you ensure that you have a reliable fallback when everything else requires more presence of mind than the moment allows. Now, let's turn our attention to another versatile no-cook food: crackers.
Crackers might seem like a simple snack, but they offer a unique advantage in emergency situations. Unlike other foods that require cooking or refrigeration, crackers are compact, durable, and can be stored for extended periods without spoiling. They're also highly versatile, serving as a base for various meals. For instance, crackers can be paired with canned tuna, peanut butter, or cheese to create a complete meal. This versatility is crucial in a crisis when you might need to prepare meals quickly and efficiently. Additionally, crackers can be used to create a makeshift meal delivery system similar to tortillas. By adding different ingredients, you can turn a simple cracker into a nutritious meal without the need for utensils or plates. This functionality is particularly useful when you are on the move or managing others. To maximize their utility, store crackers in a dry, cool place and rotate them through normal cooking every few months. Now let's explore another no-cook food that addresses a different critical need: canned beans.
Bars in an emergency kit think of them as a gym snack that doubles as backup food. That framing undersells what they actually do. Here is the connection most people have never made. When blood glucose drops below a functional threshold, not slightly low, but genuinely depleted, cognitive performance degrades alongside physical performance. Studies on people in resource-limited high-stress environments consistently document this. Decisions slow down, error rates rise, and the ability to manage competing priorities begins to fail. In a crisis, impaired judgment is often the more dangerous outcome. Not hunger, not fatigue, the inability to think clearly when it matters most. A protein bar does not solve every nutritional need. Each one typically delivers 180 to 220 calories and 8 to 12 grams of protein. That is not a complete meal, but it is enough to restore blood glucose above the threshold where decision M starts to break down, and keep it there for several hours. Think of it as a bridge, not a foundation. The packaging reinforces exactly this use case. Individually wrapped, compact, durable, no refrigeration required. For vehicle emergency kits specifically, protein bars tolerate temperature variation better than most foods. Being stranded does not have to mean going without fuel. Practical takeaway: build a rotation. Consume them periodically and replace what you use, not the foundation of a supply. The reliable fallback when everything else requires more presence of mind than the moment allows. Number 8. Crackers. On paper, crackers have no business on a serious emergency food list. Low caloric density, no impressive nutritional profile, and yet they appear on nearly every well-researched preparedness guide. There is a reason, and it has almost nothing to do with nutrition. Here is what actually happens when an emergency extends beyond the first day or two. People eating from individual components: a spoonful of peanut butter, a handful of nuts, a pouch of tuna, stop experiencing meals. They start experiencing maintenance. The act of eating, stripped of all structure, starts to feel purely mechanical. That shift sees minor. Over days, research on disaster psychology consistently finds that the loss of normal mealtime structure measurably affects morale and the psychological resources needed to stay functional. Crackers interrupt this pattern. They introduce structure. Tuna placed on a cracker becomes something assembled. Peanut butter spread across a cracker becomes something composed.
The registers these combinations differently than the same ingredients consumed separately. Something small has been made. That signal matters more than most guides acknowledge. There is also a practical rationing benefit. Eating piece by piece naturally slows consumption without requiring willpower. When supplies need to stretch across uncertain days, anything that moderates intake automatically is worth understanding. Practical takeaway. Choose low-sugar varieties with a simple ingredient list. They store longer and pair more broadly. A few boxes take up minimal space and serve as the structural base for dozens of meal combinations across everything else in your supply. Number 7. Nuts. There is a phase in almost every emergency that planning guides underemphasize. The first hours before any routine is established, before the situation is fully understood, when people are moving quickly, gathering information, managing others, and making decisions under pressure. During that phase, one characteristic of food matters above everything else. Portability, not caloric density in the abstract. The ability to eat while moving, in any condition, without stopping, without preparation, without hands free to assemble anything. A single ounce of
Nuts delivers 160 to 200 calories. Healthy fats, some protein, magnesium, and potassium, and fits in a jacket pocket. No cans to open, no packaging to assemble. Edible standing up in the dark in poor weather while managing everything else. That simplicity is not incidental. It is the feature. One consideration worth understanding before storing them. Salted varieties taste better, but they increase thirst. When water is limited, that matters more than most people account for. Keep a mix of salted and unsalted and track water intake carefully when nuts are carrying a significant share of daily calories. This is not a reason to avoid them, just a reason to plan the water alongside them. Pre-portioning into small bags before an emergency also prevents the most common issue. Nuts are easy to overconsume in the moment. Measured portions made in advance remove the need for discipline when discipline is already stretched. Practical takeaway: sealed containers away from heat and light. Vacuum-sealed bags extend shelf life further. Simple, efficient, and unlike most foods on this list, requires absolutely nothing from your environment to function. Number 6. Peanut butter. When people who specialize in emergency nutrition are asked to name the single most efficient pantry item, just one,
The same answer comes back more often than anything else: peanut butter. The numbers explain it quickly. 2 tablespoons, 1 serving delivers close to 200 calories. A standard 16 oz jar holds over 2,000 calories total. For an adult with moderate activity levels, that is roughly 1 full day of caloric intake from a single jar. But caloric density is only part of the story. What makes peanut butter genuinely different is how those calories are structured. Fat, protein, and carbohydrates in a ratio the body processes gradually. No sharp spike, no subsequent crash. A sustained energy release extending over several hours. In a crisis where meal timing becomes unpredictable, that slow burn profile is the difference between functioning and not just a convenience. Sustained stress triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol. Both help manage immediate threats. Both also suppress appetite, sometimes severely. People in genuine emergencies consistently report knowing they need to eat while feeling no drive to do so. Your body still needs fuel whether it is asking for it or not. Peanut butter bypasses this barrier more reliably than almost anything else in a no-cook supply. Soft texture, mild flavor, minimal physical effort to consume, no strong aromas that become aversive.
under stress. People eat it even when they do not feel hungry. That is a specific and valuable characteristic that calorie counts alone cannot capture. Practical takeaway: 3 jars minimum, rotate regularly, compact, no refrigeration needed before opening, and compatible with nearly every other item on this list. We are halfway through the list. If this has been useful, a like helps more people find it. Only if you think it deserves one. Number 5. Jerky. Jerky is one of the oldest food preservation methods in human history. That is not marketing. It is documented across dozens of independent cultures on every inhabited continent, each arriving at the same solution separately. Because the underlying logic is sound.
Removing moisture from meat eliminates the biological conditions that allow bacterial growth. What remains is concentrated protein compressed into a fraction of the original weight. Shelf-stable without refrigeration. A 1-oz serving delivers 9 to 10 grams of complete protein. Lightweight, compact, zero preparation for protein density relative to weight carried. Very few foods compete. But here is the tension most people do not consider until it becomes a problem. Jerky is inherently high in sodium. That sodium is not incidental. It is part of what makes it safe to
store. But high sodium intake increases thirst. And without adequate hydration to offset it, the same characteristic that preserves the food creates a compounding physiological demand. This does not make jerky problematic. It makes it a food that requires a plan alongside it. Maintain water access when jerky is a significant part of daily intake. Pair it with moisture-rich items. Canned soup to offset the fluid demand. And think of jerky as a protein component rather than a standalone meal. Wrapped in a tortilla with canned beans, it becomes a nutritionally balanced meal. Eaten alone across multiple days, the sodium load compounds. Practical takeaway: sealed packaging, cool, dark storage, regular rotation. Per gram of protein carried, it earns its place. But always plan the water alongside it. Number 4. Canned soup. Every other item on this list addresses calories, protein, fat, or carbohydrates. This one addresses something that gets almost no attention in standard emergency food planning and quietly becomes one of the most critical factors when a disruption extends beyond the first few days. Fluid intake. The body requires water at every level of function: cardiovascular performance, neurological clarity, temperature regulation, digestion. In most real emergency scenarios, water
Access becomes complicated in some way, limited, uncertain. Rationed canned soup is the only item on this list that delivers both solid nutrition and liquid in a single package. The broth contributes meaningfully to daily fluid intake. That is work that no protein bar, no handful of nuts, no bag of jerky can do. When water is being rationed, a can of soup does dual work that nothing else in a no-cook supply can replicate. There is a second benefit that becomes increasingly important the longer a crisis extends. After several days of eating dry, dense, chewy food, the body begins resisting it, not from lack of hunger, but from sensory fatigue. Research on dietary monotony shows this is a measurable physiological response, distinct from stress-related appetite suppression, but equally real. Soup breaks that pattern. Soft liquid, gentle on a stomach that has been processing hard food under sustained stress. Most people assume canned soup needs heat. It does not. It can be eaten directly from the can at room temperature. Warming it improves the experience, but when heat is unavailable, it remains a complete and viable food source, exactly as it is. Practical takeaway: prioritize lower sodium varieties, especially if jerky is already in your supply. Pair
With crackers or a tortilla to increase caloric density, one can become a genuinely satisfying meal. Number 3. Pouched fish. When most people begin building an emergency food supply, the first instinct is predictable. Calories stack the most energy-dense foods available and assume the nutritional problem is handled. But there is a second variable, one that becomes increasingly costly over several days under sustained stress that most people never account for early on: protein. Here is what the body actually does when protein intake drops during a high-demand period. It does not wait. When dietary protein is insufficient, the body begins drawing from its own muscle tissue to meet demand. This process can accelerate within days under physical and psychological strain, reducing strength,
endurance, and mental sharpness simultaneously at exactly the time those resources are most needed. This is why pouched fish belongs near the top of any no-cook supply. Tuna, salmon, mackerel, and tear-open pouches. A single standard pouch delivers 16 to 20 grams of complete protein. Meaningful nutrition requiring no utensils, no heat, no water, no preparation. Open the seal, eat. Salmon carries an additional benefit worth understanding. It is one of the most concentrated shelf-stable
sources of omega-3 fatty acids available. Research consistently links omega-3 intake to neurological function, cognitive clarity, and emotional stability under pressure. In a high-stress environment where judgment matters, that is not a secondary detail. It is worth noting, though, that research in this area is ongoing and individual responses vary. Now here's the practical detail that separates people who have lived through extended disruptions from those who have only planned for them. A can opener is always within reach in a functional kitchen. In an evacuation or a prolonged blackout, a sealed can becomes a sealed container you cannot open. People who have experienced extended outages report this repeatedly. Plenty of food stored, no way to access it. Pouches eliminate that failure point entirely. A pull tab or tear strip opens in seconds. No tools required. Lighter and more compact than cans. No sharp edges. Practical takeaway. Keep several on hand. Rotate them periodically into regular meals and replace them. The packaging is as important as the protein inside it. Number 2, canned beans. If every other item were stripped away and only one food category remained, this would be the strongest candidate to fill that space. Canned beans deliver what almost viridly. The first trip to Reden with anywhere makers and turam course I retero matcher bagros. Meneri to kermenichu are filler. Lighter omega salmor kaminislium given to well po wer. Caniker which are more portion menati. No go more
No other single shelf-stable food can claim. 3 nutritional pillars simultaneously in a ready-to-eat package: protein, carbohydrates, dietary fiber. Protein maintains muscle during physical stress. Carbohydrates supply fuel. Fiber slows digestion and stabilizes blood glucose, stretching the energy window of each meal and reducing how frequently the body demands to be fed again. Together, these 3 produce sustained, stable energy for hours. The kind of nutritional profile that keeps a person functioning physically and cognitively across long and demanding stretches. And here is the operational detail that makes this practical rather than just nutritionally impressive. Canned beans are already fully cooked during the canning process. No heat required, no water required. Open the container and food is ready. For maximum accessibility, choose cans with pull tab lids. This removes the can opener dependency entirely. The compatibility of beans across this entire list is also worth naming explicitly. Beans on crackers, beans inside a tortilla with tuna, beans stirred into canned soup to increase protein density, beans alongside a handful of nuts. In nearly every combination, beans contribute meaningfully without competing with or overwhelming anything else. Cost shelf.
Life measured in years. Caloric value per dollar spent. By every practical measure, canned beans are among the most efficient emergency foods available. Practical takeaway stock of variety. Black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas rotate through normal cooking. Make it automatic, a permanent replenishing part of the household inventory, not a one-time emergency purchase. Number 1, ready-to-eat packaged meals. Every other item on this list has something in common. Each one asks something from you, a decision about what to combine, a moment of assembly, some presence of mind to take separate components and make something adequate from them. Under normal conditions, that is effortless. Under genuine crisis conditions, exhausted, disoriented, running on fragmented sleep, managing multiple simultaneous demands.
That cognitive overhead becomes a real cost. The mental load of figuring out what to eat, how to combine it, and how much to use compounds on top of everything else already being asked of a person in a difficult situation. Ready-to-eat packaged meals exist to eliminate that cost entirely. Fully prepared, nutritionally designed as a complete meal, sealed and durable packaging. When needed, open and eat. No assembly, no decisions, no effort. Quality ready-to-eat
Meals are formulated to deliver a genuine macronutrient balance, protein, carbohydrates, and fat in proportions calibrated to support both physical performance and cognitive function in a single serving. Between 30-50 and 600 calories per package with complete protein and a range of micronutrients that is a meaningfully different category of nutrition than improvised combinations of individual items. There is also a psychological dimension worth naming directly. In the hardest moments of a crisis, when exhaustion is real and conditions feel most destabilizing, having something that requires nothing from you is a genuine form of support. It removes one demand from a system already running at capacity. Research on decision fatigue consistently shows that the number of decisions a person must make is as cognitively taxing as their complexity. Eliminating even small decisions during high-stress periods has measurable effect on overall functioning. The limitation is straightforward. Cost. Ready-to-eat packaged meals are more expensive per calorie than anything else on this list. For that reason, they function best as a complement, the zero-effort fallback reserved for the hardest moments, not the primary foundation of a supply. Practical takeaway. Keep enough for 1 to 2 complete meals per person for the anticipated duration of disruption. Fill the remainder of the supply with the lower C cost, highly effective options covered throughout this countdown. What this looks like as a system? Step back and look at what all 12 do together. Pouched fish and canned beans anchor protein. Peanut butter, nuts, and jerky deliver caloric density and sustained fat energy. Crackers and tortillas provide carbohydrate structure and convert separate ingredients into portable meals. Instant oats and protein bars cover energy delivery across different time windows. Canned fruit and canned soup address hydration, micronutrients, and the textural variety the body needs after several days of monotony. Ready-to-eat meals cover the moments when everything else requires more cognitive overhead than is available. None of these foods are expensive. None are difficult to find. Most are already in your kitchen in some form right now. What is different is the intention behind them. A food supply is not just a collection of calories, it is a system, one that needs to address protein alongside energy, hydration alongside solid nutrition, and the psychological dimension of eating alongside the purely physiological one. The gap between a basic pantry and a Functional emergency supply is almost never about quantity. It is about understanding which gaps exist and filling them before conditions reveal them. Now, here is the piece that sits underneath everything else on this list. The piece most people leave out even after building a careful supply. Water. A food supply without adequate water is not a preparedness plan. The human body can manage weeks without food under the right conditions. Without water, that window closes in approximately 72 hours. Water is not a supplementary consideration. It is the primary 1 gallon per person per day is the standard baseline. A 2E supply means 14 gal per adult. Store conservatively. And remember, several items on this list, including instant oats and canned soup, depend on water access, either directly or indirectly. The gap between prepared and unprepared households almost never comes down to specialized knowledge or survival skills. It comes down to whether someone in a calm moment made a small number of specific decisions and put the right things on a shelf before conditions made it impossible. The power goes out without warning. Shelves empty within hours of a significant weather event. Cooking infrastructure disappears the moment gas lines fail or evacuation becomes